The Affordable Care Act is great in theory.
Kind of do think it technically would be unconstitutional, but I think in the spirit of it's in the spirit of the Constitution.
Healthcare is a nice thing to do, but should it be something that the government has to pay potentially billions of dollars on?
Everyone in this country needs to have healthcare available to them. Overall, I like it. I'm a fan.
If we had the money, sure, but we do not have the money, so I don't see why it's something that was passed.
It imposes more costs on insurance providers and less cost on the federal government.
I honestly don't know enough about it to have a solid opinion on it.
The benefits of the ACA outweigh the drawbacks of that.
If they can tax an American for not having health care, what's something else they could tax us for not having? I don't see the limits on such an interpretation of the bill by the Supreme Court.
I wish there was a more objective source to go to with that kind of information.
The CBO estimates that the Affordable Care Act will reduce the number of uninsured Americans by 30 million people. One way this is done is by insuring people with pre-existing conditions.
By my mother and my grandmother. They both have suffered and still suffer from health issues that has required them to spend a lot of the time that they should have spent recovering, fighting with insurance companies.
Under this plan, it will be against the law for insurance companies to deny you coverage because of a pre-existing condition.
This aspect of the law has already impacted 50,000 people.
I am a classics major, and I will not be having any real fruitful...
The law also allows young adults up to the age of 26 to stay on their parents' plans.
Without that, I don't think I would have any real legitimate contingency plan for having health care next year.
Finally, the law will benefit women's access to health care. Before, women were paying up to 100% more than men for the same plans.
So that will be illegal as of, I think it's 2014 on that provision.
For me, the passage of Obamacare and why it was so important, sort of an affirmation and a recognition by the leader of our country that all American lives have value.
We are now moving on to the negative implications of Obamacare. First, Obamacare will further increase unemployment for young adults. This chart illustrates the trend that more and more young adults are leaving school without a job. Obviously, we have extremely high unemployment across the nation, but this second chart shows that it is disproportionately affecting young workers. Obamacare may exacerbate this problem due to its new regulations. For instance, companies who have more than 50 employees are forced to either provide health insurance to their employees or pay a penalty of $2,000 per year per employee if they choose not to provide health insurance. Companies who have less than 50 employees, however, are not subject to this fine. This means that many small businesses that have the ability and need to grow and hire young workers will choose not to because they do not want to incur this added financial burden. Small businesses cutting jobs and employee hours is demonstrated in this clip of Scott Womack, who owns an IHOP franchise in Indiana.
If the health care reform law is not repealed or if the employer mandate doesn't go away, we're going to have to take drastic actions to trim employees' hours back, to manage those numbers down, trim services. We'll have to look at cutting a lot of things that we pay for now or that we do to make room for this, and everything goes on the chopping block.
There's so much disagreement, not only among politicians, but in the media as well, about the facts and effects of Obamacare, from what the Congressional Budget Office says it will cost to how it will impact small businesses.
Analysis from the Congressional Budget Office concludes that the reform we seek would bring $1.3 trillion in deficit reduction.
Take a look at the CBO analysis from your chief actuary. I think it's very revealing. This bill does not control costs. This bill does not reduce deficits.
The cost is about $1 trillion.
The CBO has now told us about 3 months ago that the cost of Obamacare is going to be about $1.76 trillion.
That according to independent studies, 2/3 of small business profits would be hit by this surtax.
Well, under our statistics, 96% of small businesses would not be hurt by this tax.
And these numbers have been debunked, as you know,
No,
by
they
the Congressional
haven't. Wait a
Budget
minute.
Office. Yes, they have.
I have the Congressional Budget Office report right here.
No matter where you stand on healthcare, everyone can agree that the Affordable Care Act will have lasting impacts on your life, whether you're going to the Student Health Center for a cold or being germed for, well, let's say a sprained ankle at Yates. Sickness does not discriminate against gender, ethnicity, or background. Everyone has a chance of facing the burden of disease, and everyone has the opportunity to become educated on the issues. Call it Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act. The common denominator is care. Care about your health care.